release you. I release you. I release you. She didn't go to Kano because she was evil. She went because she was tired. Tired of being left. Tired of being almost enough. Tired of loving people who treated her heart like a place to pass through on the way to somewhere better. So she made a choice, and the choice made something that wore love's face but had hunger's eyes. What she built in that man was not devotion, it was need with nowhere to go. It was a man weeping in a hotel, in front of strangers, watching cameras at 2 a.m., sitting in the dark corner of a bedroom, just watching her sleep, because something inside him could not stop. She didn't create love, she created a wound that thought it was a heartbeat. And in one brief moment, before the madness closed back over him, he looked at her clearly, blood in his lip, clarity in his eyes, and asked one word: why? Not with anger, just why? That word will outlive everything else in this story. She knelt on her own floor and said 3 things she had never said to anyone, including herself, that she didn't do it for love, she did it for proof that she was worth staying for, that she stole his choice, his sleep, his mind, the version of him that was just beginning to heal. And finally, I release you. Not to get him back, but because the need, that old aching bottomless need, was never his to carry. Healing didn't arrive with noise. It arrived like a Tuesday morning, quiet, unremarkable. A woman adjusting a mannequin's sleeve after closing time, pressing her hand against the glass and saying to the face looking back, "You were always enough." This is Hotels, where every story leaves a mark. The first sign that something was wrong happened on a Saturday evening at the Crystal Echo Hotel in Lagos. It was the kind of night the hotel was built for. Soft amber lighting, jazz drifting from hidden speakers, waiters moving silently between tables with bottles that cost more than most people's monthly salaries. Then the screaming started. People gathered around the swimming lounge with phones raised. Security men pushed through the crowd. Somewhere in the middle of it all, a man was on his knees beside a woman's table, not begging, crying. Real tears, the kind that embarrass a man, the kind that don't care about audience. He was well dressed, dark suit, expensive watch, the kind of man who was supposed to be composed in rooms like this, but composed was gone. "Please," he kept saying, "please, don't go, please." The woman sitting across from him was not angry. That was the strange thing. She looked heartbroken, like she wanted to help him but didn't know how. Like she had been watching something beautiful, born for a long time, and had finally run out of ways to pretend it wasn't fire. "Jerry," her voice was gentle and exhausted. "Jerry, please stand up." But Jerry Adewale, who 3 months ago had been one of the most self-possessed men in Lagos real estate, pressed his forehead against the edge of her table and wept like a child. Security men approached. Jerry fought them with a strength that frightened people. "I will die if she leaves." Someone in the crowd whispered, "This is not ordinary." At the far end of the lounge, near the wine bar, an elderly woman sat alone. She wore purple Ankara wrappers and choral beads that caught the light slowly. She had been sitting there quietly all evening, unnoticed, the way very old, very wise people sometimes choose to be unnoticed. Now her eyes found the chaos across the room. She watched Jerry for a long moment. Then she closed her eyes and exhaled slowly, like someone who had warned people about a fire and was now watching it burn. 4 months earlier, Ihechi Okeke adjusted the sleeve of a mannequin inside a luxury fashion boutique at Lekki Phase 1 and told herself for the 3rd time that week that she was fine. She was good at that. At 27, she had mastered the particular Lagos skill of appearing composed when everything underneath was moving. You learned it fast in this city, or the city swallowed you. She was beautiful in a way that made people look twice and then look again. Tall, elegant, smooth caramel skin and sharp observant eyes that missed very little. In a different life, in a different city, that beauty alone might have felt like enough. But Lagos had taught her something early and taught it without apology. Beauty was not security. Every month arrived with rent, with the alert from her mother in Enugu asking quietly if she could manage anything this month, with the younger brother whose university fees were always almost due, with friends who borrowed and forgot and borrowed again, with men who wanted her attention but not her future. She sent money home every month without fail, even when sending it meant she skipped lunch for 2 weeks. She never told her mother this. She had learned to keep certain things inside. Her friend, Ifeoma Chukwu, who worked at a PR firm in Victoria Island and said exactly what she thought at all times, had a theory about Ihechi. You want billionaire love with soft life attached, Ifeoma told her once, eating jollof rice in Ihechi's small apartment. Admit it. Ihechi had laughed. Is suffering romantic? Suffering, no. But desperation is dangerous. Ihechi had changed the subject. What she didn't say, what she never quite said to anyone, was that it wasn't really about money. Not exactly. It was about a man named Emeka 3 years ago who had loved her loudly and completely for 18 months and then left her for a woman whose father owned 3 filling stations. He hadn't been cruel about it. That was almost worse. He had simply looked at Ihechi one evening with tired, apologetic eyes and said, I need someone whose future is already built. She had smiled and told him she understood. Then she had gone home and cried until something inside her shifted permanently. Since then, she had dated carefully, guardedly. She watched exits before she walked through doors. She prepared for abandonment, the way people in flood zones sandbag their homes, always, quietly, in advance. She told herself this was wisdom. Ifeoma called it something else. One rainy Tuesday evening, a black Range Rover stopped outside the boutique. A man stepped out, dark-skinned, unhurried, dressed simply but well, the kind of dressing that didn't need to announce itself. He moved through the entrance without looking around for validation, the way insecure rich men always did. The 2 sales girls near the register immediately adjusted their postures. Jerry Adewale, one whispered to the other, real estate, the Banana Island project is his. Ihechi kept her attention on the display she was arranging. Jerry moved through the store with the calm of someone who had nowhere urgent to be. He paused at a rack near the window, picked up a scarf, examined it without particular interest, put it down. Then his eyes found Ihechi. and stayed. She felt it before she looked up. That particular quality of attention, steady, unhurried, genuinely curious. When their eyes met, neither of them said anything. Something passed between them that had no name in English or Igbo. Ihechi looked away first, but her hands, she noticed, had gone still. He came back the next day, then 3 days after that, then once a week, then twice. Sometimes he bought things, a scarf for his sister, a bag his assistant apparently needed. Sometimes he came with no pretense at all and simply asked Ihechi what she thought about things. Books, Lagos traffic, whether jollof rice was better with or without a smoky bottom. She found him disarming in a way she couldn't immediately defend against. He listened, not the performance of listening that men sometimes did when they wanted something. The nodding, the waiting for their turn to speak. He actually listened. He remembered. 2 weeks after, she mentioned offhandedly that she preferred window seats in restaurants. He booked one. She started to ask Ifeoma what she knew about him. Ifeoma, who knew everything about everyone in Lagos professional circles, was quiet for a moment before answering. He was married, she said carefully, divorced about 4 years ago, no children, no ex-wife. Shade, she works in investment banking. She said publicly that he was emotionally unavailable, couldn't open up, kept everything behind glass. Ihechi absorbed this. People change, she said. Ifeoma looked at her for a long moment. Sometimes, what did he say to you today? He asked if I ever got lonely in Lagos, and I told him yes. And he said, Ihechi was quiet. Then, he said he did too. He said he had been lonely in rooms full of people for years and had gotten so used to it he almost stopped noticing. Ifeoma was quiet. Be careful, she said finally. One night after dinner at a rooftop restaurant in Victoria Island, where the lights of the city spread below them like scattered coins, Jerry said quietly, "You are peaceful to be around." Ihechi looked at him. "Most people find me guarded," she said. "You are," he agreed. "But your guard is quiet. It doesn't fill the room." He paused. "My ex-wife used to say I put up walls. She wasn't wrong, but I think I was just afraid of what happened when walls came down." He said it simply, without drama, like a man reading out a fact about himself he had finally made peace with. Something moved inside Ihechi that she hadn't felt move in 3 years. Walking home that night, she let herself imagine, just briefly, what it might feel like to stop preparing for the exit, to simply stay, to be chosen. The months that followed had a texture Ihechi would later remember with specific painful clarity. Small things, his voice on the phone late at night when neither of them had anything important to say, a documentary he sent her at 2 a.m. with a message that said only, "You would argue with every minute of this, and I want to hear all of it." The way he touched the small of her back when they walked into rooms together, not possessively, just present, just, "I see you, I am here." She watched his walls move, slowly, the way glaciers move, imperceptibly, until suddenly you look up and the landscape has changed entirely. He told her about his marriage, not bitterly, with the careful honesty of someone who has spent years understanding his own failures. He had been so committed to his work, he said, that he had treated his marriage like a project that would manage itself. When Shade finally sat across from him and said she was done, he had felt And this was the part that still disturbed him. Mostly relief, then shame about the relief, then nothing for a long time. I think I confused achievement with being alive, he said. Ihechi had taken his hand across the table. It was the first time she had reached for him first. He looked down at her hand on his, then looked up at her and smiled with something that was not quite happiness but was in the same neighborhood. But Ihechi's wound was older than Jerry and more patient. It had been waiting. As the relationship deepened, so did a quiet, persistent terror underneath it. Every time things felt good, something in her began scanning for the ending. Every unanswered call became evidence. Every quiet evening became distance. She began asking questions shaped like traps. Where were you? Who were you with? What does she mean to you? Not because she had real suspicion, but because part of her needed to locate the danger before the danger found her. Jerry noticed. He was patient at first, then confused, then slowly tired. She could see it happening. She pushed harder trying to stop it, which made it happen faster. Ifeoma watched all of this and tried carefully to name it. You are self-sabotaging, Ihechi. I am being realistic. You are preparing for him to leave so thoroughly that you are making him leave. Ihechi did not want to hear this. He pulled away in early December, not suddenly. The way tide pulls back, you only notice how far it's gone when you look down and your feet are dry. His calls became shorter. Dinners became lunches. Lunches became maybe next week's. One afternoon, Ihechi arrived at his office in Victoria Island with food she had cooked herself, egusi soup, white rice. The meal he had mentioned once, casually, was his favorite. She expected smiles, warmth, that particular way his eyes softened when she did something that surprised him. Instead, his assistant looked uncomfortable, made her wait too long. When Jerry finally appeared, he looked tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. Ihechi, he sat across from her. I need to say something. She already knew from his voice. I think we need to slow things down. She kept her face very still. Slow down. You deserve someone who is fully ready. I don't think I am. Is there someone else? No. Then what? He rubbed his forehead. I feel like you've already planned the next 10 years and I am still standing at the beginning trying to figure out if I am capable of this. The pressure of that. Pressure, the word came out flat. I need to be honest with you rather than. You need peace, she said quietly, almost to herself. You need peace. He looked at her, sad, genuine, which somehow made it worse. I am sorry. She stood, left the food on his desk, walked out through the open plan office with 40 people pretending not to watch. She did not cry until she reached her car. Then she cried for a long time. The destruction arrived 11 days later. She saw him at an art exhibition in Ikoyi. He was with a woman, sophisticated, natural hair, pinned elegantly. She wore a simple green dress and laughed at something Jerry said with easy comfort of someone who had known him long enough not to perform. Jerry's hand rested slightly on the woman's arm, the same way he used to rest on Ihechi's. She left before he saw him, sat in her car in the parking lot for 40 minutes, unable to start the engine. What she felt was not sadness. It was older than sadness, deeper, the specific agony of the wound that says, you see, you were right to be afraid. You are not the one people stay for. She drove home, and for the first time in her adult life, she started looking for another way. Ifeoma called her every day that week. Ihechi answered and said she was fine, and Ifeoma, who had known her since secondary school, did not believe her for a single second. She came over on a Thursday with pepper soup and chin-chin and sat on Ihechi's kitchen floor because both chairs were covered in unfolded laundry that Ihechi hadn't had energy to sort. Talk, Ifeoma said. Ihechi talked. When she finished, Ifeoma was quiet for a while. He wasn't good enough, she said finally. A man who calls your love pressure is not. Don't, Ihechi said. Don't do that. It's not simple. Ifeoma looked at her carefully. What are you thinking about doing? Silence. Nothing. Ifeoma's eyes narrowed. Ihechi, I said nothing. But Lagos has its own underground network of desperate women and the things they pass between them like contraband. The name reached Ihechi not directly but through a series of careful whispers. A makeup artist who mentioned it to at length. A club hostess who had seen results herself. A woman in Ihechi's building who had moved in 6 months ago with a man who paid for everything. Mama Zulai. Ihechi started asking quiet questions. Ifeoma through her own network heard that Ihechi was asking. She came back, more serious this time. I know what you're thinking, she said, and I need you to hear me. Ihechi poured them both tea. My cousin Adeze, Ifeoma said. You never met her. She was in Aba. Beautiful woman, smart. She lost a man she loved to his family pressure, and she went to someone, a woman in Nnewi. 6 months later, Adeze didn't recognize her own mother. Ifeoma's voice was steady, but her hands were tight around the cup. They kept her in a hospital in Enugu for 2 years. She is better now, mostly, but she is not who she was. Ihechi said nothing. These things are not toys, Ifeoma said. They are not just herbs and prayers. You are touching something that has weight, that has consequences. I hear you, Ihechi said. Ifeoma searched her face. Promise me, she said. Ihechi looked at her best friend, at the genuine fear in her eyes. I promise, she said. She meant it. For 2 weeks, she meant it. Then she woke up one morning and the weight of being alone was so specific and so heavy that it felt physical, like something sitting on her chest. She lay in bed looking at the ceiling and thought about her mother getting older in Enugu, about her brother's fees, about the apartment she couldn't fully afford, about Emeka, about Jerry, about every man who had looked at her and calculated that she was not worth staying for. She got up, booked a flight to Kano. She did not tell Ifeoma. The compound was on the outskirts of the city, past where the roads stopped making sense. The driver she hired refused to take her all the way and let her out at a junction, pointing at a path between 2 low mud walls without looking directly at it. She walked for 15 minutes. The compound appeared gradually, low buildings around the central open space where old women sat sorting herbs under the remains of afternoon light. Nobody spoke. They watched her without surprise, as though they had been expecting someone who looked approximately like her. The air carried smoke, dried things, something sweet underneath that she couldn't identify. She waited. After a long time, Mama Zulai appeared from the largest building. She was older than Ihechi had imagined, small and unhurried, wearing indigo wrappers. Her eyes were sharp in a way that had nothing to do with aggression and everything to do with having seen too much for too long. She looked at Ihechi the way a doctor looks at a patient, not unkindly, but with the particular honesty of someone whose job prevents comfortable lies. "Sit," she said. They sat together under an awning. "You want a man," Mama Zulai said, not a question. "I want," Ihechi started. "You want a man," the old woman repeated gently. "Be honest here. There is no one to impress." Ihechi was quiet. Then, "Yes." "Why?" "Because I love him." Mama Zulai tilted her head. "Do you love him, or do you need him not to leave you?" The question sat in the air between them. Ihechi had no answer. "I will tell you about 3 women who came to me," Mama Zulai said. The first woman, she said, had wanted her husband to stop straying. She gave her something simple. The husband stopped. He also stopped leaving the house entirely. He sat in one room for 4 years until he died, having never gone outside again. The second woman had wanted a man who had rejected her. She got him. They married. She spent 12 years with a man whose eyes were always somewhere else, present in body, absent in everything that mattered. But when the thing finally wore off, he looked at her one morning and wept because he had missed 12 years of his own life. The third woman had wanted her lover to choose her over his family. He did. He cut off his mother, his children, everyone, and poured everything into a woman he didn't fully choose. The weight of that much unwanted love eventually broke her instead. Silence. "I am not telling you no," Mama Zulai said. "I am telling you the truth of what yes looks like." Ihechi sat with this. "I want to think," she said. Mama Zulai nodded. "Sleep here tonight. Decide by morning." She lay awake in a small room with a mat and a single candle. She thought about Ifeoma's promise she had broken. She thought about Adaeze. She thought about Jerry's voice saying you are peaceful to be around. She thought about the woman in the green dress laughing like someone safe. At dawn she rose, walked back out to the central space. Mama Zulai was already there. Ihechi looked at her. "Show me," she said. The old woman looked at her for a long time, then nodded once, slowly. That return, Ihechi will think later. That second walk across that compound, that was the real choice, not fear, not impulse, deliberate. That was the thing she could never fully forgive herself for. The room glowed under candlelight that didn't flicker even when they moved. Cowries arranged in patterns on the floor, clay pots sealed with wax, mirrors facing walls, a smell she could never be able to describe to anyone. Mama Zulai placed 2 objects in front of her. A small bottle of golden oil, clear, almost luminous. A black calabash covered with white chalk markings that seems to shift when she wasn't looking directly at them. The oil, Mama Zulai said, he must breathe it. A room he spends time in, his car, anywhere. The powder from the calabash, once in something he drinks, only once. Then the old woman's voice changed, quieter, more careful. "Never let him see this calabash." Ihechi looked up. "Why?" "Because what this thing builds is hunger, attachment, need." Mama Zulai's eyes were very steady. While a man doesn't know why he needs you, that hunger turns toward you like a plant toward light. But the moment truth enters it, the moment he knows the need was made, not born, the hunger does not disappear. She paused. "It turns." Ihechi swallowed. "And one more thing." Mama Zulai held her gaze. "This thing will feed. It does not only take from him. Understand that clearly. You are not standing outside this. You are inside too. Ihechi nodded. She took the oil and the calabash. She did not fully understand what the old woman meant. She would. For 3 weeks, nothing happened. Ihechi began to wonder if she had traveled to Kano and back for nothing. Then Jerry called. He called on a Wednesday morning with no particular reason. Just, "I was thinking about you. How are you?" The warmth in his voice was the old warmth, the early warmth. She pressed the phone against her ear and closed her eyes. Week 1, calls every day, long ones, the kind they used to have. Week 2, he appeared at the boutique with food from a restaurant she had mentioned liking 6 months ago and apparently never mentioned again. He had remembered. He asked her to dinner. She went. At the restaurant, he reached across the table and held her hand and said, "I made a mistake. I got scared and I called it something else. I am sorry." She looked at his face, open, earnest, the walls genuinely lower than she had ever seen them. Something in her chest cracked open with relief and guilt simultaneously. She said, "It's okay." Week 3, a weekend trip to Calabar. Long walks, quiet evenings, the version of them she had wanted. She called Ifeoma and said, carefully, "Things are better." Ifeoma said, "How?" "We talked." Ihechi said, "He came back." Silence on the line. "Okay," Ifeoma said slowly. Week 6, Jerry cancelled a site inspection in Abuja, an important one. Investors flying in from London. He cancelled because Ihechi had a mild headache and he didn't want to leave Lagos. She told him to go. He stayed anyway. She told herself it was sweet. Week 8, she was at work event and her phone battery died for 3 hours. When she turned it back on, 21 missed calls. She called him back immediately, told him what happened. He was quiet for a moment. Then, "Don't let your battery die again." The way he said it was not quite a request. Week 10, a man at a petrol station held her car door open, a casual, meaningless gesture of politeness. Jerry, sitting in the passenger seat, was out of the car before she processed what was happening. "What do you want?" he said to the man. Quiet voice, still eyes. The man backed away with his hands up. "Oga Izio, I was just..." "Don't touch her car." Ihechi pulled him away gently. In the car, she said, "Jerry, he was just being polite." Jerry stared forward. "I know," he said. Then, barely audible, "I can't stop it." She looked at him. His hands on the steering wheel were trembling. Week 12, Jerry stopped sleeping. He described it to her carefully. One night, in the tone of a man trying to remain rational about irrational things, he lay down, closed his eyes, and heard her voice, not words, just her voice, calling him from somewhere. He would get up and check the apartment. Nothing. Return to the bed. Hear it again. "It happens every night," he said. Ihechi said nothing. "I know it's not real," he said. "I know that." He paused. "But it doesn't stop." Strange things began happening around Ihechi herself. A mirror in her bedroom cracked cleanly across the center with no impact. Just a sound in the night, and in the morning the crack. Candles she hadn't lit. Whispers at the edge of sleep that stopped the moment she turned toward them. And the calabash, she kept it in a bag at the top of her wardrobe, sealed inside a cloth the way Mama Zulai had instructed. But twice she came home to find the cloth disturbed. Once she found the bag on a different shelf entirely. She lived alone. She called Mama Zulai from her car in a parking lot, voice low. The old woman answered on the second ring. It's getting strange, Ihechi said. The things happening around me and what's happening to him. I told you, Mama Zulai said quietly. You said he would be affected. You didn't say I would be. I said it fits. I said you were inside it. What does that mean? A pause. It means you are not the master of this thing, Mama Zulai said. You opened the door for it. You gave it a target, but it does not serve you. It uses you. Ihechi gripped the steering wheel. How do I stop it? Silence. That is the question, the old woman said. When you are ready to ask it properly, come back. Meanwhile, Ifeoma had been paying attention. She had noticed the changes in Jerry at a dinner the four of them shared. Ihechi, Jerry, Ifeoma, and Ifeoma's boyfriend, Kola. Jerry had been attentive to Ihechi in a way that felt like something other than love. The way he watched her, the slight tension when Kola made Ihechi laugh, the way his eyes tracked her across the room when she got up to greet someone. On the drive home, Ifeoma told Kola, something is wrong with that man. Kola said, he seems very much in love. It doesn't look like love, Ifeoma said. It looks like drowning. She called Ihechi the next morning. What did you do? She asked. What do you mean? Ihechi, her voice was careful. What did you do? A long silence. I didn't do anything. Ifeoma sat with the lie. She did not push, but she started watching more carefully, and she started thinking about the name she had warned Ihechi about months ago. On a Tuesday night in March, Jerry found a calabash. Ihechi was in the kitchen when she heard the wardrobe open in the bedroom. She thought nothing of it. Then she heard the silence that followed, the particular quality of silence that means someone has stopped moving entirely. She walked to the bedroom doorway. Jerry was standing at the wardrobe, holding the cloth bundle in both hands. He hadn't opened it yet. He was just standing there, looking at it. Jerry, what is this? His voice was very calm. That was what frightened her. It's nothing, it's... What is this, Ihechi? She moved toward him. Give it to me. Please give it to me. He took one step back, and then, with the slow deliberateness of a man who has decided something, he unwrapped the cloth. The calabash sat in his palms, small, dark. The chalk markings that had always seemed to shift were very still now, as if holding their breath. Jerry stared at it. The lights went out, not a power cut. The street lights outside were still on, just the lights in the apartment, all at once gone. Then Jerry made a sound she had never heard from a human being. Not quite pain, not quite rage, something beneath both of those. The lights came back. Blood was coming from his nose. He was on his knees. The calabash was on the floor between them. Ihechi dropped beside him. Jerry, look at me. He raised his head, and for one moment, one clear, terrible moment, the madness receded. His eyes were completely himself. The Jerry from the rooftop restaurant. The Jerry who remembered window seats. He looked at her and said quietly, why? Not angry, not accusing, just why? The question of a man who had trusted someone and was trying to understand the shape of what had been done to him. Then something moved behind his eyes and he was gone. He locked her in his mansion in Lekki the following week. It wasn't violent at first. He asked her to come. She came. He asked her to stay. She stayed. And then one morning, she woke up and the gates were locked and the gate man was gone, and Jerry was sitting in the living room watching the security feeds with the focused attention of a man guarding something irreplaceable. "Jerry," she said carefully, "I need to go to work." "I called your manager," he said without looking up. "You're taking time off." "You called?" "You can order anything you need. I will have it brought." He paused. "I just need you here. I need to know you're safe." "Safe from what?" He looked at her then. His eyes were red, not weeping, just permanently inflamed like a man who had not truly slept in weeks. "From the thing I feel," he said, "from whatever wants to take you from me." She looked at this man, this intelligent, successful, self-possessed man, and saw clearly what she had made. She had not made devotion. She had made hunger with nowhere to go. In the second week, it worsened. He removed the mirrors. He said they made him feel observed. He began talking in low tones to corners of rooms she was not in. When she asked who he was speaking to, he looked confused, then frightened. His business collapsed in real time. Investors calling, emails unanswered, staff arriving for meetings and being turned away by a locked gate. His oldest friend, a man named Bayodun, who had known Jerry for 15 years, came to the gate. Jerry's voice through the intercom was unrecognizable. "There is no one here for you to talk to. Leave." Bayodun called the police. The police came. Jerry met them at the gate, calm, reasonable, well-dressed. He told them his girlfriend was visiting voluntarily and everything was fine. He was persuasive in the way that only truly fractured people can be persuasive, with the desperate clarity of someone who knows the performance must hold. They left. Ihechi watched from the upstairs window. One night, she woke up at 3 a.m. and found Jerry sitting in the corner of the bedroom, awake, not moving, just watching her sleep. "Jerry," she whispered, "come to bed." He said nothing. In the dark, his eyes caught the light from outside. 2 points of reflection, steady. She did not sleep again that night. She thought about Ifeoma, about what Ifeoma had said about her cousin Adeze, about the hospital in Enugu. She thought about Jerry's face in that one clear moment before the madness closed back over him. Why? She had no answer she could live with. Ifeoma realized something was wrong when Ihechi stopped answering calls. This was not like Ihechi. Ihechi always answered. Even at her worst, she answered and said she was fine. 3 days of silence. Ifeoma went to the boutique. The manager said Ihechi had taken sudden personal leave indefinitely. She went to Ihechi's apartment, knocked for 10 minutes, let herself in with the spare key she had kept for 6 years. The apartment was undisturbed, nothing missing. Food still in the refrigerator, beginning to turn. Phone charger still plugged into the wall. She sat at the kitchen table and made herself think clearly. Then she took out her phone and searched for a flight to Kano. She found the compound on her third attempt. The first driver took her wrong. The second refused to continue past a certain road. The third was an older man who nodded when she described it and said nothing more for the rest of the journey. She walked the same path Ihechi had walked months earlier. The compound, the herbs, the quiet old women who watched without surprise. She waited. Mama Zulai came out and looked at Ifeoma for a long moment. "You are the friend," she said. "Where is she?" Mama Zulai gestured to a seat. Ifeoma did not sit. "Is she alive?" "She is alive." Ifeoma sat. "Tell me how to fix this." Mama Zulai poured water from a clay pot into 2 cups, set one in front of Ifeoma. "There is a release," she said. "There has always been a release. I told her this from the beginning." "Then why?" because the release requires something she may not be ready to give. What? Mama Zulai looked at her steadily. Truth and genuine surrender. She paused. Not performance. This thing knows the difference. If she speaks the release words while any part of her is still holding, still wanting, still hoping to keep him, it will not work. And once it fails, she stopped. What happens if it fails? It becomes permanent. Silence. She has to mean it, Mama Zulai said. Completely. The fear, the wanting, the need to be chosen. She has to look at all of it clearly and put it down. Ifeoma looked at a cup of water. Can I bring her to you? Mama Zulai shook her head. Bring me to her. Getting out of the mansion took Ihechi 3 attempts. The first time, Jerry heard her at the side gate and was there before she could open it. Not angry, just, don't please. The devastation in his voice stopped her. The second time, she reached the gate before realizing he was following her silently, 10 meters behind, not speaking, just following. The third time, she waited until he fell into one of his collapsed sleeps. The heavy sudden unconsciousness that sometimes took him in the afternoons. She left through a kitchen window, ran. Ifeoma was waiting 3 streets away with a car. They held each other for a moment without speaking. Then Ifeoma said, I brought someone. They did the ritual in Ihechi's apartment. Mama Zulai traveled with Ifeoma, sitting in the back seat of the car the whole way from Kano without complaint, arriving in Lagos looking entirely unimpressed by the distance. She moved through Ihechi's apartment slowly, touching walls lightly, pausing at doorways. Then she set up in the living room. Candles, the objects she had carried in a cloth bag, a careful arrangement on the floor. Ihechi sat across from her. He will come, Mama Zulai said. Not a prediction, a fact. I know. When he comes, you must not stop what we are doing. Okay. Mama Zulai looked at her for a long moment. You must say 3 things truly, she said. Not for me, not for him, for the thing itself, so it can hear the truth and release its hold, she said. The first is why you truly did it, not the surface reason, the deep one. The second is what you took from him. Name it clearly, all of it. The third is what you must surrender, not strategically, not with any thought of getting something back, fully. She paused. If any part of you is still holding while you speak, hoping that releasing him brings him back, hoping that sacrifice ends love, hoping for any outcome at all, it will feel the hope and it will use it. Ihechi nodded. Ifeoma sat in the corner, quiet, present. The candles were lit. The room shifted. Outside, rain arrived. Within 20 minutes, there was a sound at the door. Knocking, steady, unhurried. Mama Zulai did not look up. Ihechi rose and opened the door. Jerry stood in the corridor, drenched. He had clearly walked some distance in the rain. His shoes were ruined. His shirt was soaked through. He looked like a man who had broken down a wall to get somewhere and was now standing in the rubble of it. His eyes found Ihechi. Something shifted in them. The frantic quality softened slightly in the way that a person's breathing changes when they finally find what they were looking for. Not peace, not sanity, but the brief, terrible relief of the hunger reaching its object. Then his eyes moved past her and found Mama Zulai. The old woman looked up at him calmly. The relief on Jerry's face turned to something else. He recognized something or remembered it. Something moved across his expression like weather. Sit down, Mama Zulai said. He sat. Ihechi knelt on the floor in front of the arrangement of objects. She looked at Mama Zulai. The old woman nodded. Ihechi took a breath. The first truth. I didn't do it because I loved him, she said. Her voice was steady and very quiet. I did it because I was terrified of being left again. Because every man who ever left me took a piece of something with him, and I was tired of losing pieces because I thought if I could just make him stay, it would mean I was worth staying for. She stopped. I was trying to prove something to myself, and I used him to prove it. The candles burned without moving. The second truth. She stopped, began again. I took his choice, the thing he was most afraid of losing, his ability to decide his own life. I took it and replaced it with need I manufactured. I took months of his time, his business, his sleep, his mind. Her voice cracked. I took the version of him that was starting to heal. I found him beginning to be brave, and I turned that into something monstrous. She felt Ifeoma's presence in the corner. She did not look at Jerry. The third truth. This was the hard one. I have to put down. She stopped. The room felt like it was waiting. I have to put down the idea of him, she said. Not just him, the idea of what he represented, the proof, the security, the answer to the question of whether I am worth choosing. Her hands were shaking. I can't know that from him. I can't know it from anyone, and I have to stop needing to know it. She felt something move in the room, not physical, like pressure releasing, like a door swinging open somewhere. I release you, she said, not to Jerry, not to the room, to herself, to the need. The candles went out. Not wind, not breath, all at once. Darkness. Then from somewhere in the darkness, a sound. Jerry on his chair put his face in his hands and wept. Not the performative public weeping from the hotel. Something else. Something that had clearly been held back for a very long time. The sound of something returning from somewhere they can't describe. Ifeoma was at Ihechi's side. She felt it before she saw it. Her best friend's hand, finding her hand in the dark. Mama Zulai, somewhere across the room, said nothing. Outside, the rain continued. If this story is sitting heavy on your chest right now, good. Drop it in the comments. You are not alone in what you felt. This is Akotels, where every story leaves a mark. Now, let's finish what we started. Some endings don't arrive with noise, no dramatic music, no grand resolution, just mourning and the quiet, unglamorous work of becoming someone you can live with. This is what healing looks like when nobody is watching. The lights came back on slowly. Jerry sat in the chair with his head bowed, breathing, present. When he finally looked up, his eyes were clear, red from weeping but clear. He looked at Ihechi for a long time without speaking. She met his gaze and did not look away. There was no performance in the room anymore, no hunger, no chains masquerading as love, just two damaged people sitting in the honest wreckage of what had happened. I remember everything, he said quietly. All of it. Ihechi nodded. He looked down at his hands. I need to leave, he said. I know. He stood, looked once more at Ihechi, at Mama Zulai, then at Ifeoma, who held his gaze without apology. Then he walked out of the apartment. They listened to his footsteps in the corridor, the elevator, silence. Mama Zulai rose slowly and began gathering her things. Will he be okay? Ihechi asked. Eventually, the old woman said. He is himself again. What he does with that is his business now. She stopped at the door. "And you?" she said to Ihechi, not unkindly. "The fear that brought you to me, it is still there. The ritual removes nothing from you. The work of that is yours." Ihechi looked at her. "I know," she said. Mama Zula studied her for a moment. Then she was gone. 6 months later, Jerry rebuilt quietly. He didn't speak publicly about what had happened. His close friends noticed he was different, more deliberate, slower to speak. Occasionally, in conversations, he would pause in the middle of a sentence and get a careful look, like a man checking the ground before he steps. He started therapy in April. He didn't tell anyone except Bayodun. He went every week. His business recovered. Not immediately, not completely, but enough. The Banana Island project eventually closed. He hired back 2 of the staff who had quit. He didn't date for a long time. Ifeoma and Ihechi's friendship survived, but it was altered. The way a bone that had been broken and healed is altered, present, functional, carrying the knowledge of the fracture. Ifeoma never said, "I told you so." This was the greatest kindness she had ever shown anyone. What she said instead, 3 weeks after that night, over the same kitchen floor with pepper soup was, "I love you, and you scared me, and I am still here." Ihechi cried for a long time. Ifeoma let her. Ihechi's fashion brand grew slowly and without shortcuts. She walked, she slept, she sent money home, she went to therapy. A therapist in Yaba whose office smelled like cedar and whose questions Ihechi found infuriating in the way that useful questions often are. She dated no one for 7 months. When she finally went on a date, a quiet dinner with a man a colleague introduced, she noticed herself halfway through checking for exits, preparing for abandonment, beginning the familiar calculation. She put her fork down. "I am sorry," she said. "I need to tell you something strange." He looked at her. "I have a habit of preparing for you to leave before you've decided to leave," she said. "I am working on it. I wanted you to know because it might look like distance and it isn't. It's a thing I am working on." The man across the table looked at her for a moment, then said, "Okay, thank you for telling me." She picked up her fork, small, not healed, not fixed, but honest. One evening in late November, Ihechi was alone in the boutique after closing, adjusting the sleeve of a mannequin. The same gesture, the same shop, the beginning of everything. She paused, looked at her reflection in the darkened glass of the shop window. The woman looking back was tired in some ways, lighter in others, carrying something she would probably always carry. She thought about Jerry's voice in the darkness. "I remember everything." She thought about what she had taken, what she had put down, what she was still learning to put down. She pressed her hand briefly against the cool glass. Then she turned off the lights, locked the door, and walked out into the evening. No resolution waiting for her, no proof, just the street, just the night, just herself. Enough.